Hey everybody, welcome back to Reflections of a Savage. I don't know how else to introduce myself in the beginning of these episodes. Like, should I sing it? Or should I just be natural? I don't know. This makes me very nervous because I want to get it perfect, you know? Anyways, I hope that you all are doing well wherever you are in the world. Florida, New York, Europe, Russia, Asia, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, penis, wherever you are, I just hope you're doing well. Now, today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Tourette Syndrome. And this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, especially because the last two episodes I've recorded, I've had to take more time to edit them and more time to take space in between because I do tic. I do struggle with my own tics, which, by the way, Tourette Syndrome involves like involuntary movements, and that's what a tic is called. But I try really hard not to do it, so I'll pause it or I'll close my mouth and it sounds like I'm taking a breath, but I'm really ticking, and then I have to cut it out of, the episode. So that's just kind of a preface, something I had to get off my chest. Now I feel like we're really getting to know each other. And normally I don't take it slow, but when it comes to speaking out into the world, and I don't know who's listening, I do like to take it slow and reveal myself little by little while wearing my heart all over my body like a jumpsuit. Anyways, so before we get into the meat and potatoes, the vegan meat and potatoes of the show, I want to give the Super Savage Award. And this is an award that I grant to people that I come across in the news, my personal life, whatever it may be, doing savage things. And that could be good, bad, or neutral. So, the Super Savage Award of this episode goes to Miss Deborah Ann Burns from Florida. She is famous for stabbing her husband after he farted in her face during an argument. I'm trying so hard to bite my tongue from bursting out into laughter. I'm so immature. I laugh when the ketchup bottle farts, Anyways, what happened was that they got into an argument. What happened was that they got into an argument. And basically, the guy got up and farted in her face. So she went and took a butcher knife or some kind of knife and stabbed him. They were basically together for 6 years, which is really crazy. And I just can't do it with a straight face. But anyways, yes, Florida, we're very famous for all the crazy people. Like, everybody I talk to when I say I'm from Florida, they're always like, oh, you come from crazy land. And it's true. I mean, we do have Casey Anthony. We do have bath salts. And now we have Miss Deborah Ann Burns stabbing her husband for ripping one in her face, making her smell the stench of all of his glory. God, I think I wouldn't condone stabbing someone for farting in your face. I would condone farting on their pillow to give them pink eye. I would condone farting on them while they're sleeping, just to make them taste your stench while they sleep and they don't know what it is. You could even spit in their drink while you have a cold sore, or just a cough or something contagious to spread it to them. Anything. But I would condone many other things than stabbing someone. However, the fact that she retaliated by stabbing is very fucking savage, and for that reason, she gets the award. So, Miss Deborah Ann Burns, I doubt you're listening because you might be in prison, or, you might be staying far away in a cave away from the man who farted on you, your ex-lover. But if you're listening, congratulations, you got the Super Savage Award. Anyways, now, if you could see me recording this, I'm blushing like crazy. You know what I really hate? Like, farts make me blush because I laugh. I think they're hilarious. Like, I think farts are really funny. I'm 25 years old, and I think farts are hilarious. You know, I was raised to think that. When I was a kid, my mom and dad came into my room, and there was a burnt hole in the underwear. My mom's like, look, Dad farted a hole in the underwear. I was a kid, and basically I was just raised on, like, a fart funny culture. So, yeah, I've been blushing. Like, don't you hate when you go on an elevator, and the person on the floor above you farted, leaving their ghost inside as you walk in, and it smells horrible. And then you go down a floor, and a nice German couple comes in, and they start looking at you and laughing and talking about you in German, and you can't even explain yourself because they might not understand English. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because that's just like a really hard moment. So, anywhoots, instead of giving a story this week, I just want to jump right into the topic. Because believe it or not, farting does jump into the Tourette Syndrome topic. And we'll get to that later. And it's not like an immature thing. It's about my tics, which sound like farts, but they're not. It's me clicking my tongue. Well, I'll just get to it later. So I want to give the definition of Tourette Syndrome for those who don't know. Tourette's is defined as a neurological disorder characterized by involuntary tics and vocalizations, and often the compulsive utterance of obscenities. So, usually when you hear about Tourette syndrome, people usually think, you know, the person who curses all the time uncontrollably. Like, you've probably seen that stereotype on South Park, many different places. It's not just that. You know, there are people who do curse, you know, and they you know, I'm assuming because of how outrageous that is to just say fuck in public uncontrollably. That's what gets the attention of people. So, like it is in life, you know, a small minority always builds some sort of stereotype for the majority because the majority, I guess, isn't as loud. Anywho, so that's what it is. And it's really uncomfortable. You know, I'm trying so hard not to tic while I'm recording this because I don't want to. A lot of people, they tic by hitting themselves. They tic by constant saying things. You know, they tic in other ways that, you know, people don't see, like blinking and twitching and, you know, head jerking and many different ways people, you know, tic. And you may or may not notice it, but it is there for a lot of people, and it's uncomfortable. Personally, I feel like Tourette's, if I want to make a good comparison, I feel like Tourette syndrome is basically the feeling of having an itch deep inside your asshole and you're in public and you can't scratch it. So as you're walking, the itch gets worse and the anxiety builds up and you start sweating everywhere, from your neck to your back to your cha-cha, your crack, everywhere. And you become so anxious, you have to find a place to scratch that itch. And then you ultimately do. And for me, I have verbal tics that I try really hard not to do in public because it's just really embarrassing, you know. And the other tic that I have that I try really hard not to do when I'm recording this, as I mentioned, is when I click my tongue. And it's embarrassing because people have asked me if I'm farting when I'm not. And I just let that out for you, not on purpose, but now that the cat's out of the bag, I can kind of let loose a little bit. No, I'm going to go back to holding it as much as I can. But if it comes out mid-sentence, just you know what it is now. So, anyways, people have asked me, oh, did you just fart? And that's really embarrassing. So I'll be in public now, like in a store or at work, or I'll be talking to somebody and I'll tic like that. And embarrassing because I don't know if they even notice it, what it sounds like to them, since the only times I've ever really been asked about it was when I was being accused of farting. I don't want to deal with it, so I try really hard not to tic. For me, when my anxiety gets worse, that's when the tics get really bad. So I try and stay away from excessive caffeine, because a week or two ago, I had a period of 2 days where the tongue clicking tic was really, really strong and I couldn't stop. And because I think it's more neurological, sometimes the tic won't even come out. And I was driving and pushing really hard to get the tic out to the point where my face would turn red and I'd start seeing dots at one point. And I was crying hysterically because all I wanted for it to do was stop. But it was so hard. And this was while I was working, which was really hard for me because I'm driving and I'm trying to get to customers and I'm trying to get them their food. And the whole time I'm in panic mode because I can't stop because the tic won't come out and it becomes physically harmful, So I just kind of wanted to give an example because you're listening to my podcast, and this is me speaking from my experience, but that's really what having tics is. Sometimes I jerk my head, I twitch my fingers, and it is what it is. I've come to really accept that, mental illness is not always a curse as we feel it is. If you're listening to this and you feel the same way, you're not alone. And we don't talk about mental illness in society. And I'm going to speak about that in another episode because, this was something I really just wanted to talk about now. But I want to have a whole other episode talking about mental health because it isn't something we talk about. I mean, I click my tongue and if someone doesn't know what it is, that's embarrassing. But I don't even think about myself. I think about the other people who either curse or hit themselves or say just random sentences or, they just can't stop. In public, it's embarrassing. And I really think about other people and I feel that we're not open enough about it and we don't talk about it, and that's something that has to change. So rather than recommending a product, before I finish my episode, I want to, be able to help by giving a resource for people who do struggle with Tourette's. There's this foundation called the Tourette Association of America. And what their mission is to spread awareness about what Tourette's is and, to raise money to support medical research. They provide resources for people who need it. They have ways of helping you find a mental health provider, helping you find treatment for Tourette's and every comorbid thing that comes with it, because also OCD can be a part of, OCD can be, in addition to Tourette's, they can be fucking your head together. Let's just put it that way. So I'm going to put the link to that at the bottom of my notes so that if you are listening to this and you are suffering with Tourette's and you don't know where to turn, at least you have a resource. Now, there is this online therapy platform, and it's called BetterHelp.com. I have just heard about this, through actually billboard ads. I just heard about it. And BetterHelp is advertised as, online therapy. So rather than having to go straight to a therapist and, make an appointment for every week and have to deal with where to go and what to do, it makes BetterHelp makes it easier to get a therapist online. And, we're always busy, spending time on our phones. And a lot of us, not myself, but a lot of people don't want to go to therapy because they're scared of feeling weak or what other people might think. But, finding a therapist online could be the best way to help yourself. There's also another resource, and it's called Talkspace. And this is, in theory, nearly the same thing as BetterHelp. They do differ in some ways. I will say that Talkspace kind of advertises itself more as, a way to get like instant therapy online. So I am going to put the link to these two websites at the bottom of my notes as well. And I want to disclose I don't get paid to promote this, although I've never used this before because I've never really had the money to subscribe. It's not expensive, but, I'm catching up on bills in the meantime. But I've heard so many good things about it, and given that this is, an episode about mental health, I really want to provide the resource to people who need it. So there you go. Now, once again, thank you so much for listening to Reflections of a Savage. I am ticking comfortably at the moment, but trust me, in the next episodes, I'm going to edit it out. I just kind of wanted to expose it, since this episode is about Tourette Syndrome and what it is to experience having that mental itch inside your butthole, but mentally. All right, that did not make sense. I'm just going to stop. Anyways, so you can find a lot of my content and blog posts at my website, reflectionsofasavage.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter. It's me, Brett L, E-L-L-E. So it's me, Brett L, and L is spelled E-L-L-E. I usually change it sometimes, so if you're hearing this now and it's different, then just, I'll update the notes with a link to my Instagram and Twitter. And I really appreciate you listening and subscribing, and if you could write a review for me in iTunes, that would be really helpful because it helps me, I guess, gain more recognition through the iTunes platform, which means that more people who have Tourette's and other mental illnesses, or more people who can relate to my other episodes of dealing with toxic masculinity or being triggered by porn, they'll be able to hear this, and feel inspired or feel like they're not alone. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And in the meantime, have a great night, great day wherever you are. Venus, Penis, Mars, Jupiter, Pluto. Is Pluto even a planet? Saturn, Neptune, Earth, the Moon, the Sun, and any other planet I've missed. Wherever you are, have a good one. Good night. It's nighttime by me. Bye.